pasted that line up. The time is estimated, but before I introduce you, I'll pin you. So if you're feeling like you're coming up, just like pat down your flyaways and be ready.
All right, we're live on YouTube.
Woohoo!
Well, hope people can find us. Don't pin me. But I want to welcome everybody to the chapbook release. We're so happy that Lily Someson won the Host Publications Chapbook Prize for Spring 2021. The Chapbook Prize that is bringing us out of the pandemic, as opposed to the winner of 2020, which we will blame for bringing us into the pandemic. But that's just a joke for Julie Howard, because I know she would find that funny. But welcome everybody, and Host Publications, which I very proudly can say that I run, but actually it's run by Anar and Claire because they do everything so brilliantly. Welcome to you, and Malvern Books welcomes you as well. And so I'm basically going to turn it over to them and let them introduce what's going to go on tonight.
Thanks, Joe. We are super excited about this event, and I think it's almost time for us to get kicked off. Anar is going to introduce our first performer.
Hi, everyone. So I've spotlighted Ty Air. Ty Air is going to kick off our celebration this evening. Ty Air is a dynamic musical intersection of Black, queer, and pop culture. He performs to dancing crowds that connect to his fun, catchy lyrics just as much. Oops, sorry, this close. Catchy lyrics just as much as his quick beats, and taken his soaring vocals to speak to the underrepresented demographic he is part of. Chicago Tribune has hailed him a pop star on In the Rise, and Ty Air wants to bring the audience along. Because at the end of the day, if you can't twerk it out with friends, what's it all for? Please welcome Ty Air.
All right, what is up, everybody? Can everybody hear me okay? Is this good? Decent volume? Awesome. All right. So I was warming up today, and I figured I would start with this warm-up that I was doing, just because we're all here to celebrate Lily, and Lily is one of my newest, bestest friends, and I'm just like so happy to know them. So let's start it off right? Ooh. There we go. All right. Mistaken, mistaken for loud, 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 mistaken, comets, comets,
or no, I was 29 right before I moved to Chicago, which was the roughest year that I had in DC. And so it was like in the year 20s can be a challenging time. And so you have to really, really, really avoid becoming cynical.
What does it mean to you? Mean to you? Cause I know you've never seen me looking at you this way. Yeah. I guess I'm that bitch. You can call me miscommunicate. And all we do is try, but we never seem to land on the right ways to say, yeah. Hey! And after this last time, the stories don't even start to hit the same. Come on! I could be good, yeah. I could be good. So great, so good, yeah. I could be good, yeah.
Maintaining a growth mindset, right? Like not
Hey,
stuck in an echo chamber of negativity, either from what you're telling yourself, your self-talk, or what you're hearing from other people, and you have to really center yourself on positivity.
You're pulling the punches when you normally would let me have it. And I'd hate to stay here, smiling at each other out of habit. No, I'm never gonna say that it was all on you. I couldn't find a way out, so I pushed on through. And when we bump into this, I hope that you know we both have room to grow, yeah. And I hope that you know, yeah. Oh, you could be good, yeah. You could be good. So great, so good, so good. I'm never gonna say that it was all on you. I couldn't find a way out, so I pushed on through. When we're bumping to the south, that you know. Oh, never gonna say it. I'm never gonna say it. Oh, and every word you say would shatter me if I knew you meant it. Yeah. I know exactly where the fear comes from. We share it. So do we laugh about it? Or do we share the silence? Or do we go without it? Oh, no. Whoa. I wish you could. So good. I wish you so. I wish you could. So great. I'm never gonna say that it was all on you. I couldn't find a way, so I pushed on through. And when we're bumping to the south, that you know, yeah. I'm never gonna say that it was. I couldn't find a way that it was. And so I pushed on, Hey! And when we're bumping to the south, that you, hey, come on, hey, yeah. I said I'm never gonna say that it was all on you. Yeah, I'm never gonna say that it was all on you. Thank you so much. So that is off of my new EP, not to plug because we are here for Lily, but if you are interested in looking me up, please check me out on Spotify. That was Be Good. This next one is Crybaby, which is like, Lily knows, it is the jam. Like, we are going off to this song.
Everybody liked you. Like, everybody thought you were such a cool kid, and sweet kid. Like, everybody thought you were awesome.
That's so funny because I feel like I'm those things now, but then I also have like these doubts that I don't remember having before. You know what I mean? I fought off the night with a match. I did my best to make it last, and by the morning I was glass. The moonlight had turned me blue, and there was nothing I could do. The only way out of this was through. So now I do it. I do, do it. I do, 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 do. Voices are getting greedy mean. They're turning my brown eyes green, and I'm closing my eyes just to see. Oh, and I'm always talking to myself, and I'm harder than anybody else, and I'm thinking it's time for me to melt, melt, melt. I do it. Why cry for my health? And why cry, baby? I'd rather do anything else. And I'm breaking my own heart, I'm breaking it down. Bury me now with the lies I found. Hey, come on. Say all the worst things I think about myself are never really fucking true. Let me hear I say worst things I think about. Nah, because the worst things I think about myself are never really fucking true. The worst things I think about myself are never really fucking true. So why cry for my health? And why cry? I'd rather do anything. I'd rather do anything else. I'm breaking it down. Bury me now with the lies. With the lies. All the worst things I think about myself are never really ever true. All the worst things I think about myself are never really ever true. The worst things I think about myself are never really ever true. Worst things I think about myself are never really ever true. Thank you so much for having me, Lily. Let's party. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, there is nothing that I can say after that except that it was incredible. And I agree with the chat that we just entered another dimension. And I really like this dimension. Thank you so much, Tyre. Incredible. That's like the only live music I've heard in like a year. And it's satisfying a deep part of my soul. So I hope everybody else feels the same. I'm sure they do. I'm so delighted to introduce our first reader for the night. So I will be introducing Jess, who is spotlit all ready for us and ready to go. So Jess Mascareñas, aka Gertrude, is a writer, poet, comedian, organizer, and tea maker based in Chicago. She is an alumni of Louder Than a Bomb, the largest youth spoken word competition in the country, and a recent creative writing graduate of Columbia College, Chicago. She's a co-founder of a mutual aid collective called Black Rising, which helps people with access to things like food, housing, and transportation. Jess also works as an herbalist in training at Alkaline Healing Herbs and creates customized healing teas. She is constantly innovating ways to bring social justice, art, and healing together. Please help me in welcoming Jess.
Hello, hello. Is my audio working? It's good? Okay. Thank you for having me, Lily. I'm gonna just get right into the poems. Yeah, okay. I am grateful my archived songs in the back of her throat for transcribing it to this tongue. I have no idea what it means. I sing it as if it was the first sound to escape me. A Konkani love song, a call and response, a man asking, telling a woman he loves to come here. Yeah, yeah, Katrina. My sings, stares longingly in my direction. Na, na, yonchina. I sing back to her. I will not come. She is holding a spoon like a baton, and I am an out of tune but loyal orchestra. I sing both parts, forgetting this is a bridge that is held together by two voices across a river. She floats somewhere in the ripples now. I become the demander and denier of love in one breath. I didn't want to know what the words meant. Let them go back to being sounds that only remembered how to leave my body. Help them find comfort in a new throat, with no expectations of becoming words. A harmonizing memory, a duet of creation. Let every sound mean a wrinkled mouth, fingertips dipped in ghee, a spoon that stirs and conducts all at once. Let me call out to myself. Let nothing arrive but the breath. It was never about the song. It was about two voices becoming one. The way my sang out my mother, then sang out me. I'm crawling back into 2 generations of wombs and still stepping into a song that was carved by every thread of hair falling from her scalp to her ankles. She refused to cut. I don't know how to breathe underwater, but I can carry a tune while I'm drowning. Sometimes it's easier to hold a note than a body, whichever floats to the top first, pulled in by rope or hair thick enough to grasp. I rub coconut oil and sea moss on my mother's bald spots and sing to her roots the way my sang to me, not with the expectation something should grow, with an unknown certainty. I did not speak you into existence, Bangara. I held your name in my throat for 9 months. You escaped me fully as God's creation. I imagine this is what it sounds like. And that's that piece. All right, I'm gonna get into this next one. All right. When I was a kid, my grandma would fart and burp in front of me, and I'd be like, ew, why? She never apologized, never said, excuse me, never gave excuses, always waved one hand in the air and said, comes in crying, goes out flying. Why should I ever apologize for letting go of something that demands to be released? You think the baby bird looks back at the nest before flapping its wings? Nah, mama bird would have kicked its ass back into the egg. I'm not trying to be somebody's breakfast. This is how my taught me to pray, not in my mother tongue, not even with my mouth, but my entire body in every possible cadence, out of tune and in flatulence fashion. You think when we rose up from stardust, the cosmos sounded like a flute and a harp? Nah, must have sounded like a tornado of farts. You think the Big Bang was God hitting a Zen gong? Nope. Must have been the winner of a lunch table burping contest. And because my and God ran in the same circles, she knew because God created her, God must have created these holy sounds too. Anything that comes from my body, I am to trust. That would be like apologizing for existing, like asking my mom for a refund, until one day 44 centimeters of ulcer showed up and I couldn't get a word of prayer in without spilling some gas. Until one day I tried to kiss someone and burped in their mouth. I thought, ooh, just turn this shit into a group prayer. Now I keep just enough gas to keep the candle lit. Did you know flame enhances the prayer? Yesterday, I forgave somebody. Yesterday, I cried. It kind of felt like I was letting out a good old fart. I mean, it kind of felt like I was finally letting go. And that's that piece. Oh, wait, is that my time? Am I done?
No, you have several more minutes left, so please.
Oh, I have several more minutes.
Another piece.
Okay. I thought I had 5 minutes. Okay. All right. I'll read this quick one that I wrote recently, actually. Okay, fun fact. It's actually not that fun of a fact. They purposely plant trees in Chicago shallow so that they never grow to their full height, so that they won't grow up and be like inconvenient or whatever. So yeah. In Chicago, they purposely plant trees shallow so they never reach their full height, never get to bury their roots completely. In my dream, the oxygen feels sad, the trees insecure, knowing the birds will not create a nest on their bones, knowing they are prone to be uprooted easily. They decide their roots must be legs, must be mode of transportation. I am on the train and there are so many leaves falling, thick thighs of trunks and every root an extra toe, bound to nothing, bound to no one, yet every land, every soil, every piece of this earth, somehow theirs, somehow still warm, can never be cut down if I keep my roots on me, if every mountain of dirt is singing my name and every gust of wind scatters it in a different direction. I am bound to no one, no land is mine. I am bound to nothing. Still, every corner of this universe I have pulled you in, left you a breath at least. There is a map of your mouth stuck on a branch, falling somewhere, everywhere. A part of me is still exhaling. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Jess. This is already such an incredible event. Thank y'all so much for bringing the energy and the love. Without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce y'all to Eli. Eli Harvey is a Chicago-based Southern writer whose work explores the connections between family, body, and identity. Eli has written for Psychology Today and Hooligan Magazine and has taken workshops with writers like Sabrina Ora Mark. He could once be heard telling stories and sharing his work in places like Volumes Book Cafe and the Second City in Chicago. He looks forward to the day he can do so again. Please welcome Eli.
Thanks so much. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. So first of all, Lily, you have some really talented friends. I'm so honored to be here. Hopefully I can live up to the standard of the rest of you guys are sitting down. So this is a horror story. I'll just go ahead and get started. My wife and I reviewed the contract together in bed. As the documents now spread across her lap explained, the company was offering us an opportunity to discover ourselves. They would supply us with free subscriptions to every curated box and service they offered, set to auto-renew each year until the day we died. Every article of clothing, hobby, or snack in our new life would be chosen for us by an infallible set of rules dictated by a computer. My wife had been the recipient of extraordinary sponsorships and offers before. Once, many years ago, a llama farmer invited her to South America to spearhead the marketing for his collection of fleece bicycle seat covers. But my wife refused. saying she could not bear the thought of us in South America. We would miss too much the life we built together in our Midwestern condo. Besides, I had commissioned the professional installation of an extremely large ring light in her office. We agreed we couldn't abandon the ring light. While she pored over the contract, my wife wondered aloud if we would miss the beautifully imperfect singularity of our things, our city, our friends. I wondered if she would miss the professionally installed ring light. My wife seemed less than enthusiastic to hand her autonomy to an algorithm, even one that would build us a better world more in sync with our interests and tastes. But I looked forward to being asked who I am and to having the answer repeated back to me in this way. We arrived in the seaside villa on what I am told was the first day of spring. Hot ocean water slapped the shore and licked the dark sand. The whole place smelled like the wet five-finger running shoes I had once peeled off my feet and left in our garage after a run. My wife, whose profession required she perform vacations for a living, seemed unimpressed by our new residence. I left the bedroom window open while I unpacked and was startled by the viscosity of the warm, salty breeze. Our dog, Apple CEO Tim Cook, panted happily at the end of the bed. Here, our days were untethered to schedule or obligation. The only ritual came from the arrival of the curated boxes. They were host to an array of clothing, bruised produce, foreign snacks, prepackaged recipes, dog toys, and even silicone wedding bands intended for athletes, or any ordinary person whose ring finger might become inexplicably mangled beneath a large rock. We quickly realized there wasn't enough room for it all. I instructed Apple CEO Tim Cook to begin burying his toys in the yard, which he did with diligence and a somber look of regret. My wife gathered her tailored yoga pants and planted them in drawers and linen closets, but they bloomed forth, unwilling to be contained. In the kitchen, I tied my luxury wristwatch bands to the pot rack until their curious daisy chains started to resemble a noose. Each morning, we dragged ourselves across the beige carpet and through the maze of cardboard shells that contained the props of our new and false identities. We began to throw what we couldn't use into the yard, down the garbage disposal, out the windows, and off the cliff behind the house. Eventually, we stopped opening the boxes, instead joyously drop-kicking them out the bedroom window and toward the hot blue ocean. Apple CEO Tim Cook enjoyed chasing these packages, pink tongue wiggling in the wind. The ocean inched closer every day. Its warm breath stank, so we stapled the windows shut. Friends called at first, curious to hear our voices. After so many months alone, we were surprised to hear them too. We took turns finding new ways to ask about the outside world that carried on without us. How was David liking the new tile he picked out for the downstairs bathroom? Was Julia going to sell the piano that her ex-wife left behind after the divorce? The 6-year-old scored a goal in soccer. How? Despite the sincerity of their interest in our interest in them, these calls eventually slowed. I didn't mind. I was learning how to make friendship bracelets from reclaimed leather wallets. My wife was determined to fulfill her contract with the company that sent us here. With her iPhone, she photographed the only corner of the house that lacked dirty or unused clothes. She photographed the vacuum-sealed packets of food cut loose and dumped on white porcelain plates. She even concocted a hashtag for our dog, Apple CEO Tim Cook, that surpassed content created by the real person, Apple CEO Tim Cook. Content was our king, a most merciless ruler. The first time I broke my nose riding my new hoverboard on the beach, I felt the unfamiliar jostle of surprise. Blood gushed from my pale white nose and stained my tailored shirt, which had been made by orphans from recycled bottle caps. I suppose I had forgotten that my body was vulnerable. At first, my susceptibility to pain made me feel alive, but then I remembered that unchecked pain could have more significant consequences, like death. I dragged myself up the hill and back toward the house. When she saw me, my wife pulled out her phone and ordered us a Lyft line. In the backseat of Jeremy's Toyota Yaris, my wife smiled weakly at the other passengers. I pressed my face against the window to follow the wiggling line of the coast. After Sarah, Thomas, and Katie were all dropped at their destinations, we finally arrived in front of the hospital. From the waiting room, I looked back at the car to see the silhouette of my own bloody nose marked on the glass. The women at the front desk laughed as my wife fumbled with an old wallet. She pressed our insurance cards into the hands of nearby nurses and doctors who looked at the unfamiliar relics as if they were foreign currency. The hospital staff began to grow impatient with us, and so they sent us back out into the world. "But how do we pay for this?" my wife barked at the doctor from the parking lot. "You don't," he shrugged, "but we'd be delighted if you could rate this experience on ZocDoc and Yelp. Be sure to share your review." At home, we slept on the pile of boxes in our bedroom and silk sheets that had arrived that morning in the mail. The next day, I found a spot of my blood left behind like a clue. We knew more sheets would soon arrive, so we dragged the soiled ones to our window and threw them behind the house. The delicate bundle sailed over the rocks and sank into the boiling ocean. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Eli. That was incredible. I would argue that all of our readers are stars tonight. So count yourself among them. And I'm going to introduce, actually, Anar, are we doing a break right now or are we doing one more reader?
It's
time for a short break. We just want to make sure everybody can stretch their legs, go to the bathroom if they want, just sit and process how incredible these performances have been, whatever you like for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Let's definitely be back no later than 7:45, and we will introduce our next reader then. Thanks, y'all.
Hi, everyone. Oh, let me mute. There we go. Whew, that was just something out of Black Mirror. So as everyone's trickling back in, oh, thank you, Lily. As everyone's trickling back in, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys a little about where you can find Mistaken for Loud Comets. So if you go to hostpublications.com, those are the orders that Claire and I fill, and we wrap them up really cute. We include like limited edition postcards that we designed with Lily and shipped out, and the Mistaken for Loud Comets playlist, which you can find on the website if you just want to listen, but these are printed right here in the office. And our friend Casey at Longhand Pencils made us these pencils that say Mistaken for Loud Comets in like iridescent shiny foil. And it comes in lavender as well. A fun thing about Mistaken for Loud Comets is that there's only 500 copies printed, and then that is that. So you already have yourself a collector's item, because we know Lily is a force, and there will be plenty of more books in the future. And it is our very first landscape book. Lily's style really needed more space to fit, and it is just so gorgeous. Claire Bowman, our senior editor, did the layout and completely blew my mind. And so we absolutely love it. And then the cover, iconic. Lily was like, I want geese. And I was like, what do you mean? And I couldn't be more proud to have helped bring this book to fruition, and just make something just that you can hold and love and cherish. So you can get this at hostpublications.com. If you live in Austin, we're based out of Austin, and our sister store is hosting us tonight, Malvern Books. They are located off of 29th Street and now doing appointments and curbside pickup. And you can call and place an order now, or come by next week. That phone number is 512-322-2097. Or you can go to malvernbooks.com and figure it out from there. Yeah, I think everyone's trickling back in.
Yes,
we're ready?
Think so.
Let me
And
spotlight.
since you said a nice thing about me and I must say, excellent job on the cover. It is so beautiful. I agree. It is iconic. It's like retro and also very now. I think it perfectly fits Lily's incredible work. So needless to say, we're very proud. But I'm super excited for us to get back into this incredible reading. So I will now introduce our next reader. Kyoko Reedy is currently a second-year MFA candidate in poetry at Vanderbilt University, where she also serves as the editor-in-chief for the Nashville Review. She loves baking, live music, and romping around outside with her partner and 2 dogs. Her poems and nonfiction can be found in the Chestnut Review, Berkeley Poetry Review, America's Best Emerging Poets, and elsewhere. Welcome, Kyoko.
Hi, everyone. So there are these 2 aforementioned dogs, and they may at any moment decide to start screaming. So if that happens, I'm sorry, but hopefully they'll be respectful of the poetry reading. They have been so far. So I will also just get right into the poems. I have 2 poems about my brother and one that is not about my brother, just to mix it up a little. So this first one is called Only Air. Below me, my brother's body thrashes wildly in the pool. Thin limbs lashing my arms and chest. I push his head down once, twice, again below the water, though never for more than a second or two. Then I let him break for breath, watch him sucking air as though he were drowning, really drowning. The whites of his eyes streaked red with chlorine, strained from playing at death's soft boundary. We loved like that, or I loved him like that. My larger body above him in the pool, my hands pushing him forward, then tugging quickly back from the cusp of some ruin I would never fully intend. My well-timed jump hurtling him off the trampoline's metal edge. I made his youth into a thin wire he learned to walk, then to revel in the art of balance. Because I loved him like that, maybe that's how he loves himself now. Most comfortable with nothing but air below him, performing his only trick. Rush of wind in his face, cocktail of pills churning his stomach as he toes that same unmarked boundary to death. Too far to coax him back to safety. I pray once, twice, again, he'll come out alive. Yeah. So the first two are a little depressing, but we'll end on a happier note, I promise. All right, the second one is called What Will Live, with a line from the Lost Baby poem by Lucille Clifton. They say a woman's body releases its best eggs first, the slow fall of the ripest fruit. 11 years old and my body already dark with possibility, my thighs wet clay, the first blood not bright as a line of petals, but the color of damp earth. What then did I know of drowning, of being drowned? Now, 13 years of 12 cycles. That's 156 of my best work, finest craftsmanship, taken up month after month in the crimson squall, the storm's unblinking eye. I beg myself, stop, wait, keep what is good, what will live. My mother's womb full of graves, no tiny form to bury, just the wet surrender and pain, or maybe none, which is worse. The fresh absence unnoticed and life continuing in fits and starts until it was me. Who could I have been, born years earlier, hundreds of eggs closer to absolute? The lineage of miscarriage and my body still mutely flushing my best chance at a life, the heart's uncertain inheritance. Now, the 157th denial. Wait, wait. I bleed with abandon as usual into everything. Overnight, the animals take to the trash bins, clawed hands unspooling my tissue-wrapped tampons, clotted brown, hue of spoiled meat, strewn across the concrete, like missiles anticipating detonation or wounds awaiting a body. All right. So now we have another brother poem, but it's a little cheerier this time. This one is called Emergence. And also, Lily helped me workshop this poem last semester. So thank you. This poem wouldn't even exist without Lily's input. So Emergence. Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it, said Michelangelo. As though the sculptor in charge of crafting his delicate features suddenly got it right, his face belonging to him, the face belonging to him emerging from the stone a little more with every day sober. So many years of him wearing someone else's mouth, its bitter slackness, and the wrong eyes, light averse and flighty, rolling like struck cue balls in their dark hollows. His cheeks no longer sag like damp rags from the bones of his face. And my God, I have never seen a man eat like this, as though it were the first time he tasted the berry's sweet bite, the steak's rich juice filling his mouth like revelation. When his jaw works the fatty meat, the metrical click of his mandibles from years of panicked grinding is what remains of his old self, the creature of midday darkness that once stalked through my brother's life. I know he still feels the ghosts of his old appetites roiling his good blood, pacing the long hallways lined with doors to relapse. But now, at least now, he's a man who smiles with his own mouth, blinks his own eyes, moves with a body relearning the possibilities of control, to trust his weight against the insistent pull of great heights, steady hands to mark the chisel's precise angle. Day after day, the angel in the marble must carve himself free. All right, that's all for me. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Kyoko. Up next, I'm so excited to introduce our next featured reader. If you've cracked open Mistaken for Loud Comets, you are going to see Tony Trujillo's name in the introduction, and we're so grateful. It is a beautiful introduction. Please do yourself a favor and read it. And we are so honored to have Tony join us this evening as well. So I'm going to spotlight Tony Trujillo and read his introduction. Tony Trujillo's newest book is Proof Something Happened, selected by Susan Howe as the winner of the 2020 Marsh Hawk Press Poetry Prize. His other books of poetry include Ghosts of the Upper Floor and Inside the Walls of My Own House, and White Noise, among others. His selected poems, Fuera del Taller del Cosmos, was published in 2018 by Guatemala's Editorial Poe, translated by Boni Hernandez. Trujillo is also the editor of Elise Cohen, Poems and Fragments, and author of Allen Ginsberg's Buddhist Poetics. He is a professor of creative writing in poetry at Columbia College, Chicago. Please welcome Tony Trujillo.
Thank you. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Volume's all right? Perfect. Okay. Thanks. It's wonderful to be here, and it's a real honor to be here celebrating Lily's chapbook. Congratulations, Lily. I can't wait to hear you read. And it's great to read with Lily and with Jess, two both former students. I feel like we're having a Columbia College reunion. So it's really nice. But Lily's book is terrific. So please check it out. It's politically urgent, emotionally intense, emotionally nuanced and intense. And it's just a really great book. So congrats again, Lily. I'm gonna read two poems from the new book, Proof Something Happened. It's very briefly, there's a description of the book. It's a collection of documentary poems on the alleged alien abduction of Betty and Barney Hill in 1961 from the White Mountains in New Hampshire. And the first poem I'm going to read is about me doing research for the book and trying to get to the abduction site, and the weather kept making that impossible. And so I wrote about not being able to go to the place I wanted to go. And it begins with an epigraph from Betty Hill. It's called The Orb. The Orb. I say, anytime you see a light in the sky, check it out. Betty Hill. I'm not ashamed to say I wanted a sighting. I drove north into the White Mountains for research. Nothing bookish, the kind where an orange light grows plump, pulsates, follows me down a deserted wilderness road. I'm on the lookout for stories with more complications, witnesses, 3 lacquered discs in formation, or maybe they look like porcelain in starlight. They're impossible, evasive gymnastics when a passenger jet heads their way. I wanted to do a double take, a cigar shape drifting in front of the moon. I imagine first contact to be like the time I saw a deer running from police in my overpopulated street in Chicago. A creature so formidable you want to freeze the moment, study every flickering pigment. Lucky for me, this deer, who could have cracked open an SUV between its haunches, was running on the other side of the street, too scared to know I was watching. A perfect alien encounter. More rain. On the third day, a slant of light, visions of October leafage swabbed in outlandish color. My favorite, the brute plum tomato reds gushing on the maples across the street from my hotel like washes of electric guitar. The day I tried another drive to the Hills abduction site, Felix Baumgartner bunny hopped out of a balloon sponsored by an energy drink company and flew through the stratosphere above Roswell, New Mexico. Edward Archbold died after winning a cockroach eating contest in Miami. Chased back again by rain and fog on twisty mountain roads in the White Mountains, a few miles from Durham on Route 108 during a clearing lull in the rainstorm, I saw a bright dollop of light in the sky, a white orb, and nearly drove myself off the road. Now I know why Barney Hill pulled their car into a picnic area. Probably a helicopter, even though I saw no tail outline or tail light. In my rearview mirror, I glimpsed the ditch I could have crashed into, and I lost my nerve, kept driving. Betty never questioned her nerve. She chided her captors for performing medical tests on her nerves. Such nerve, she said, kidnapping people right off the highway. Her first sighting, mid-1950s, the craft exploded in midair. The Air Force explained it was a meteor. She collected heavy fragments of wreckage, but couldn't find anyone willing to analyze their chemical composition. 3 weeks before her abduction, she scattered the pieces in her backyard during a gravel delivery. They're buried where the stones are spread. Thank you. And the last poem I'm going to read, it's a long title. It's also from the book. It's called Over Time, Other Miracles Occurred, but These Were the Most Important Ones. And this is a poem, it takes as its beginning at its core, I guess, is the moment in her childhood when Betty Hill in their home, when they actually got electricity for the first time. So it's this moment where science looks like magic until it's science, and it's kind of all part of her experience with it. Over time, other miracles occurred, but these were the most important ones. It's ordinary to load up the car and spend the weekend somewhere else. Two ordinary people love each other the most ordinary ways. One of them making sandwiches for the drive, the other packing suitcases. It wasn't this way in the war. Everyone on guard for invasions from the sky. You couldn't drive at night. No outdoor lamps, your headlights taped. Nothing but a meager beam would show if planes flew over looking for targets. Betty remembers an electrician standing on the kitchen table, installing her family's first light. The glow floated like a balloon until it spread everywhere. And a radio built by her grandfather covered a whole dining room wall. A scientist came over the wireless saying, if a car could travel 60 miles per hour, gravity would crush the passengers. If everyone was quiet and she pressed his headphones to her ears, voices came out of the wall if there wasn't too much static. Neighbors sat with them, hoping to hear a voice, usually faint. So much fuzz you really couldn't understand what was said. People didn't put up the black veil if you talked about seeing things back then. Thank you.
Wow. So, am I here? So, can everybody hear me? So, thank you so much, Tony, and everybody for all your introductory readings and all that fun stuff. The music was just incredible. I mean, I'm dying for the day when Malvern Books will be able to do this kind of fun thing live again, but you guys have really made this happen tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce the winner of the Host Publications Chapbook Prize for the spring of 2021. We all know that is Lily Someson, a brilliant, brilliant poet who we just are so pleased to have the privilege to publish and to introduce the world to her writing and to her artistry. And we just know that there are great things in store for Lily, because this book's just incredible. I will read, everybody here, of course, knows Lily and knows about her, but just for the record, let's say we're reading this into the record, because this will be on our YouTube channel and on the Facebook page. Let me read Lily's bio. Lily Someson is a poet and essayist from Chicago. She has obtained a BA in poetry from Columbia College, Chicago, and is winner of the 2020 Eileen Lannon Poetry Prize with the Academy of American Poets. She has read at the Poetry Foundation's Open Door Reading Series and has also been published, is forthcoming in Court Green, Curiosity, Young Chicago Authors, and the Columbia Poetry Review, among others. She is currently a first-year poetry MFA student at Vanderbilt University and an assistant poetry editor of the Nashville Review. And everybody is lucky to have contact with Lily. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing you read.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. During Tyre's set, I was like, don't mind me, I'm just crying in my little Zoom box. But like, that's how I was the whole reading. I'm just so overwhelmed to see all of the wonderful poets that I've surrounded my life with. And it was just so amazing to see everyone read. Every single reader here and every person in this Zoom has allowed this book to happen. So I'm so just grateful to be here spending time with all of you. So I'm going to read 3 poems today from the book. And the first one is concerning the UFO sighting near Edinburgh Correctional Facility. Suddenly at dusk, everyone's fathers float out of their jail cells, all locks grown long again, their concrete ceilings opened up, beaming towards the heavens. It's some sort of rapture floating wildly above our heads, unidentified objects, orange birds of paradise dotting the horizon, father as in sky ballet, father as in never in the wrong place at the wrong time, boots lofty like there is so much to celebrate. All of the police have never seen a gun. They don't say a damn thing. Fathers doing somersaults, shackles nowhere, men mistaken for loud comets, Midwest America pointing upwards. Look, a second chance, a Doppler of white light, some blinking oblivion to witness and tell our children about. So this book is in many iterations about my father, but also about my family dynamic. And when we were editing, Claire and Anar were like, this is a sci-fi book. And I was like, I didn't even realize, but there are a lot of sci-fi elements in this. So I'm really happy to see all of the ways that all of your writing has influenced me, specifically Tony, because it's just been so amazing to get that kind of feedback from you. So many of these poems could not be in this book without Tony, so I wanted to give you a special shout out. My next poem is Lisa, I saw so many geese coming out of a dark gray cloud. after the poem that my father wrote for my mother. I must ask if you care that I saw them too. Birds, black feathered, flung astral and heavenward, carving the air hard with their bodies. My mother pretends she has not seen them, maybe, but I've always waited for their ascension, followed them down Route 20 until everything was winged and disastrous. These geese disrupt everything. These geese fly through the poem, the exosphere, demand to be touched by the hand of God or whatever's closest to it, paternal and otherwise. You call and ask for my mother, but I can't admit that I too have come out of something gray and cumulus, a thing who cannot love you correctly. Your voice, paternal and otherwise, asks me to write more letters, but I am suddenly her, just rounded at the edges, softer and more willing to listen. My Lisa, where have you been? I am hurried at the mention of her name. Here we watch as grief reroutes the sky, makes everything push back out. When the birds finally drop through the air, they all wear your face. And this is my last poem for tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been such an honor. But this is actually the last, if you're following along in the book, this is the last poem in the book. It's called Portrait of House with Visitor. I invite my father to sit down in the poem. I ask him if God exists in captivity. I invite him into my space, which is to say that we are near one another for the first time. I would like to build a room without a steel mouth. I invite him in, holes in his pants, punctured stars. A room with a stained glass window. We talk about normal things like normal people. A breakfast nook, then. Little salt and pepper shakers, a kitschy tablecloth. I ask, are the windows too small? He whispers, to be black is to know death. He was in solitary for 6 months. My face, uncanny valley as he struggles to look at me. Our noses are the same, carved flat on round faces. I build, make the house bigger, less claustrophobic. I paste him into photo albums. A living room, then, a vintage chaise lounge, orchids on the coffee table, decadence. In the house, he talks slowly, measuring his life. They cut his locks in prison. In the poem, they're still there, but we have to pretend. He is 20 years younger. We paint murals in the living room. We cook his mother's recipe for cornbread. We fight over the remote. We bicker about the news like real people do. I build him new locks, new head for them to rest on, a body that was born free. I sew his pants, corduroys worn from walking, gardening, going to the store for milk. I'm playing God. We're still in the house, remember? We have to pretend. I paint the poem white with blue shutters. I choose the furniture for him to sit on, a new bed, white sheets with purple violets, no metal in sight. I build a poem around him, a world without confinement. Yellow light through a screen door, the outside mocking us with its magnitude. Thank you.
Are you sure you don't want to read another poem, Lily? You're getting such an encore in the chat.
Read another poem.
I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, even though that's literally what I'm doing right now. But I just wanted to offer you the time and space to read us another poem if you would like to.
Yes, I would love to.
Then we can all compose ourselves after that one.
I wanted to make sure to hit the time limit because Zoom fatigue is very, very real. But I'm happy to read another one. Let's see here. So I'll read this one. This one is about my mom, who is listening in right now on the live stream. So hi, Mom. This is called Self-Portrait as My Mother at Her Heaviest Weight. In the photo, there is the girl, wide nose pushing her face forward, angular, arms clutched tightly against an old boyfriend, cheeks flushed. My mother is 22. Hair rolled perfectly up towards God, her lips red and cinched back. A face like blinds being pulled upwards, laughing with my eyes. The mirror of our bodies, ripe hip, plum-like and glittery, holding friction in all the same places, and I wish so badly to stop here, to look at joy, to see how its hands are clasping a lover's waist, how its earrings are huge, fabulous, and unreasonable, a sequin jacket catching violet light, brilliant under a disco ball, our legs filled up with party favors, apple picking. How that girl looks straight into my eyes like she knows me already, knows that I will carry burden in my wrists like she does, will attempt to lose joy and gain it back again, like my mother who is not yet a mother, not yet knowing the weight of her future, banging hard against dinner plates. Which is to say that the night my mother stepped on a scale, vowing to lose 100 pounds one summer, attempting to lose our same bodies, her meals medicated and sparse, strangers asked if I was adopted. Despite our hands, identical in size, leaning up against opposite sides of a mirror, whispering, I love you, I love you. Her bones without marrow, small birds, a tower of stacked joints, and I see her now, how she stares back at me, my shrunken twin, my own shape widening gently, as if to soften a blow. Thank you. And thank you for the encore. That was very sweet. I miss encores from live events.
How could we not? Oh, this is, yeah. I mean, it's just been incredible, Lily. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. And I think this was a great success. So well done, everyone.
I am positive everyone is hungry for more. Lily read for a special poetry, Spirit of the Congress, or Congress of the Spirits. Wow. Anxiety is a powerful tool. Anyway, so if you go to the host dispatch, you can listen to our literary podcast. Lily was one of our featured readers in incredible company. And we also have a really special episode of the host dispatch where we interview Lily and ask some really great questions. And Lily reads some more poems for us. So there's plenty of, I hate to say it, but content out there.
I linked the Congress of the Spirits reading and performance episode in the chat. It links you out to Apple Podcasts, but you can get it on other platforms as well. But yeah, good call, Anar.
We want to thank everyone for coming in and streaming and This pandemic is a horrible, awful thing, but it has brought all of us together in some ways, and makes tonight particularly special. We are going to go ahead and end the YouTube live stream, but just wanted to mention that you can purchase Mistaken for Loud Comets at hostpublications.com, or if you live here in Austin, support our local bookstore, Malvern Books.
And we don't have to jump off right this second. The live stream is ending.